Hi, all my JavaScript friends. This is the Virtuoid, and this is Fun with JavaScript, where we create fun projects together. If you like this video, make sure to hit the like button below and hit the subscribe button to see all of the wonderful things we're going to be doing with our Fun with JavaScript series. And our project this time will be a base card class. So if you ever wanted to be able to create games that had any type of playing cards in them, not just playing cards we see on the screen here, but Uno, for example, has playing cards. Monopoly has cards. Trivial Pursuit has cards. Any game that has any types of cards, this card suit, what I'm calling the base card suit, will give you the fundamental properties you're going to need to be able to create all kinds of card games. And we're going to show you in this video how to create this particular base card class. So before we actually get into the creation and tell you how we're going to create it, let's first of all discuss what the card class will be. And basically, we're going to have three different properties of this card class. The first property is a suit, and a suit is the grouping of a fundamental set of cards. For example, within a playing card system, we have, or a playing card set, excuse me, we have a suit of hearts, a suit of spades, a suit of clubs, and a suit of diamonds. So all those are different suits. Uno cards, blue, green, yellow, red, and black. Even Monopoly cards has, let me make sure I count this correct, 1, 2, 8, 9, 10 different suits. The 8 different color suits plus the community chest and the chance. Those could basically be suits within a Monopoly game. So you can use the suit to classify any grouping of cards together. The second property is called the rank, and the rank differentiates cards within an individual suit. So again, let's take playing cards for example. You have cards starting with the ace, the 2, the 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, jack, queen, and king. Each one of those are rankings within the suit. Now, how you interpret those rankings is completely up to you, but that basically differentiates the cards. Some cards don't have rankings. Uno cards have rankings, but for example, let's take the Monopoly cards again. They don't have rankings. If you take the blue suit, which is 2 cards, which is Park Place and Boardwalk, there's really no difference between those two particular properties. Now you could put, maybe the purchase price as a rank, because ranking, all these properties you can define within your application to be anything. Conceptually, I'm sitting here thinking that rank doesn't mean anything in Monopoly in this particular case. But the key here is that ranking differentiates between two cards within the scope of a suit. The third property is called value. And value is something that is definitely attributed to the application. There is, it's a base playing card here, there basically is no value to these cards. We have a suit, obviously we have the rankings within the cards differentiated between them, but how the particular card is interpreted is completely up to the application. For example, if we were to, let's just use simple playing cards here, if we were to do a game called Blackjack, each number card has a value of its own number. The ace could be a 1 or an 11, depending upon the application. The jack, queen, and king are each 10 different, are worth 10 different points. Uno cards, for example, the numbers are worth numbers, but if I remember correctly, the things like the draw twos and reverses are worth 20 points apiece. So you see the values are different there. Within that Monopoly game we talked about, the difference between Boardwalk and Park Place, the value can get extremely complicated because the value can contain how much the purchase price is, how much the mortgage price is, how much the price is with 1 house, 2 houses, 3 houses, 4 houses, and a hotel. So it can contain a mountain of it. The value can contain not just a single number like normal playing cards would. It can contain a mountain of information. Trivial Pursuit, not Trivial Pursuit, Cards Against Humanity, where it's just simple questions on cards. There is really no suit. There's one suit. There's really only one rank, but each of the values will be the different questions on the cards or the different answers to the particular cards. The key here is that value is really going to be kind of undefined within our particular card class because that's going to be up to the application to determine the value. And those are our three basic properties for the card class. And I know you're sitting here wondering, well, what about the pictures? What about the images for the front of the card and the back of the card? Well, You can define those too. I'm not for this base class, and the reason is that those are visual images that are really good if you're going to be working with browser games and things like that. But if you're going to be working with games, computational games where you're running simulations, you don't need to have the images. So if you don't need to have the images, why put them on the class? So I have purposely left off the images of the front and the back images of the cards, specifically because I don't know whether this class will be used within a simulation or used within a visual application. So I'm going to leave that up to the application to decide what they want to do with it. All right, so that's going to be our base class there. So now let's talk about the methods on our base class. And what we're going to do with these methods is create methods that are going to allow us to be able to compare the instance of our card with some certain value. And there's going to be 5 different methods. The first method is going to be isSuit, in which we're going to pass a suit, and we're going to compare this card to be a suit. And this is going to be a Boolean, so we're going to either return true or false. Does this instantiated card match the suit or not? The second one is rank, and that will allow us to be able to check the rank, just like the suit. Is this instance of the card equal to this suit or not? Well, it is or is not. Same thing with value. Does the value that is passed equal to using isValue, does the value that is passed equal to the instance of our card? Yes or no? And then finally, we're also going to have one called isCard that will allow us to be able to compare all 3 at the same time. And we're just going to call these other 3 methods. It's more of a convenience method. So instead of having to say, in your application, oh, if isSuit and isRank and isValue, you're just going to be called isCard, and you pass it a card. And what's going to be different about this one is instead of passing, the suit or the rank or the value, you're going to pass another card instance that's going to compare one card instance to another. Finally, the last one is going to be called a compare method. And why do we need to do that? Well, here's the thing is that when JavaScript is making equality checks, we're going to be using the triple equal sign, which basically says tells JavaScript don't do type coercion on these particular types. Take those 2 variables as is, and they're either equal or not. And that works great as long as you have primitive values or primitive variables, like string, number, Boolean. But what about an object? Because we said earlier that object can be pretty much anything. Well, actually, so can suit and rank, but object can be a value can be pretty much anything there. That Monopoly game, for example, like I said, the value could be a object which has a bunch of key value pairs which specify house prices, mortgage prices, price of the property, and so on and so forth. Well, the problem with JavaScript is even with the triple equal sign, it's not going to be able to compare 2 objects together. So the isRank, the isSuit, and the isValue, especially the isValue, are really not going to do us any kind of favors. So we're going to create what we call an abstract method called compare. And all our class is going to do is going to return undefined. And I'll discuss that in the videos. But the idea here is that I don't know how an application is going to want to compare 2 values of a card together. I have absolutely no clue how that's going to happen. So I'm just going to basically say, I'm just going to return undefined, you define it. And so when your application uses this class and extends this class, it's going to need to be able to say, okay, I've got a very special case here where value is an object, so I can't use isValue, or I can't even use isCard. I'm going to have to use a compare method. And it will pass the compare method over to our particular to the instance itself when the class is created, and that will allow each application to be able to create their own specific card comparison routine. So if you're using primitive values, you can use what we gave you: isSuit, isRank, isValue, and isCard. But if you're going to have very complex objects, you're going to want to create your own compare method. So those are our properties and those are our methods. What are we going to do here? First of all, won't be using any frameworks because we're not going to be implementing any kind of browser application here, so no frameworks. We'll be doing this in vanilla JavaScript, not in TypeScript. And the reason for that is that I want to be able to capture the entire audience. So there's a lot of people out there, more than you would expect, who know JavaScript, who have absolutely no clue of TypeScript. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there who know TypeScript, doesn't know really some of the inners of JavaScript, but we won't get into that. But the thing here is that if I keep it within JavaScript, then you can take this class and take the concepts we're going to be teaching here and apply them to TypeScript. You can't necessarily go the other way. So everything I'm going to be doing here will be straight in TypeScript. I'm also going to be doing what's called TDD, or test-driven development. And what that means here is that next video that we have in this series here is going to just write test. I'm not going to be concerned about writing the class itself or designing the class. I'm going to write test. And the idea here is that if we run our test suite against our class is not finished until our test suite passes all trues. So it's going to be very important to make sure that we have our test suite complete before we actually start writing our class. So this first video is our introduction. The second video is going to be the TDD, the test-driven development section, and our third video in this will be the creation of the card class itself. So that completes this particular video. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe for everything else that we have for Fun with JavaScript, and we'll see you in the next video.